with you, a sort of reading, listening, practicing kind of Buddhist community. I was in your library sitting and I saw so many beautiful books that you have collected. And I was told that you frequently invite people to talk to you and you practice meditation, and Sundays you normally meet here and do all practicing. And therefore I'm very happy to be in a community like you for even for a short time. It's very unfortunate that Venerable Vimalajyoti couldn't come here, because he was in fact ready to give you a beautiful talk. Unfortunately, he is more knowledgeable than me, and unfortunately that he has asked me to come and do it. So you may not perhaps get the same type of Dhamma talk from me. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's a summary of Buddhist teachings given by a person called Rattapala, right? The sutta, in fact, that records this is called Rattapala Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, sorry. And this sutta, in fact, tells you how one very rich young man in India, right, with all parental inheritance of a lot of money, gold and all sort of things, decided to become a Buddhist monk, right? He was taken to the Buddha by a friend, and all that story you can read in the book. But this person, right, was very young and happily married also, and had very expensive things in his family collection, gold, silver, gems and all sort of things, right? And parents were thinking that they should pass all this wealth to his son, and they were thinking of very many big things of his son. But unfortunately, right, for them, right, they thought it is very unfortunate that the son decided to go on hunger strike, asking for permission to become a monk. Right? He first went to see the Buddha asking for ordination. The Buddha said no one can be ordained in Buddhism, in Buddhist order, if somebody has not obtained permission from parents. That's the practice even today. Right? If you want to get yourself ordinated, your parents have to give you consent. And so he had to go back, and parents did not allow him to renounce the world. So actually he went on hunger strike, and for several days, and the parents arranged that the friends and everybody who could persuade him to remain in lay life could not, and later being sort of unable to convince him, they consented with much hesitation, and he went to the Buddha and became a Buddhist monk. And the encounter that he had with the king is recorded in this particular sutta, right? The king came to know that this person is from a very rich, affluent family, and therefore king sort of wondered why, a man in this youth, in this situation, could renounce the world. He asked this person, is it because that normally the king said that people renounce the world when they are very old, right? Many people today also think that when you are old, you are fit to be a monk. He asked, any of these reasons, old age, sickness, right, and bankruptcy, right, and relations deserting you, any such thing has not happened to you, right? Because he was obviously young, and king couldn't see any sign of old age in him, and he was very healthy, and not for that reason, and he was not bankrupt. Parents were very rich, and he could inherit all that, and relations really loved him. So the Rattapala, the person, his family name, Rattapala. Ratta means country. Pala means controller, right? So he was given a very prestigious name, even though he was not a king, right? Even today, some people in India get such names like Raja. Raja means king, right? But he is the very normal person who has no anything to call himself a sort of even representative of the village council are called Raja, right? So he was called Rattapala, and Rattapala said that not because of any such reasons, right? The personal disappointment in life, not any of such things made me a renouncer. So the king was wondering why, right? So there we have in the sutta his summary. He is summarizing the Dhamma as he understood. He said, I have listened to the Buddha, learned Dhamma, and this is my understanding that life, right, as a whole, or the situation in the world as a whole, right, has certain philosophical things that we have to understand. So this is very important, that he was not renouncing the world because of any personal family problem or anything, not because that he was bankrupt, but he had a vision of a broader vision, right? He had a philosophical understanding of the things. You know what philosophy means, right? Philosophers think of the world in a very different light. They are very broad-minded. They are looking into the very depth of situations, problems. They think in a different light. When we are also facing normal day-to-day situations, sometimes people think, we also take things philosophically, right? For instance, someone is dead in the family and you don't cry, you sort of try to understand it is the nature. So someone may say, you are taking it philosophically, right? So when something frustrates, some frustrating experience you come across, then when you are not very much disturbed, you are facing the situation sort of calmly, people say, you are taking it philosophically. So that really means when you look at something philosophically, right, you are very systematic, you are deep, and your understanding is not the surface level, you are getting into the very depth of it. So the Rattapala said, mine is a summary of Dhamma that I have gathered from listening to the Buddha. It's very philosophical reasons, right? So they are very important for us. That's why we are here to sort of discuss these things, and I'm sure you will have your own feedbacks to me when I explained the reasons that he gave for his renunciation, right? The number one is actually that he said, the Rattapala said to the king, right? Upaniyati loko adhuo in Pali, right? Anyone understanding Pali? No one studied Pali? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. This says that in normally when you look at the things in the world, right, these things appear as if they are sweeping away, right? They are flowing very fast, right? And they are not steady at all. Things in the world are not steady. They don't remain for long, right? This nice building that you are sitting in, right? Beautiful things that you have around, and all these things, after some time tend to decay, although we don't notice, right? Buddha has said that when you look at the things, material things, you feel like that these things are more or less permanent, right? That's why sometimes when we were going to school, we were given two types of inks to put into our fountain pens. Those were the days that we didn't use ball points, right? In our school, they were not allowing us to. We had the fountain pens and we could use two types of inks. One ink was called washable, right? My generation people here may remember that in Singapore also you have washable inks because we children tend to have our clothes spoiled with ink, so it has to be washable, right? So our clothes can keep on for a long time. Then there is another second type of ink called permanent ink. Right? Permanent means that when you write, it will last for very long years. Right? So that type of permanence is actually a conventional permanence. They don't last as long as the world lasts. But people think there are so many things in the world, they last for very long time. Then, for instance, the scientists have thought that when you were digging oil from the earth, and when they were using natural resources, they are going to be permanent. Now they have realized they are not permanent. There is a sort of, they are coming to the exhaustion point. So they are looking for new sources of energy. So everything is impermanent, especially when we look at our own bodies, right? When you think of your childhood days, when you were 4-6 years old, right? You were very different, right? And you are very fresh, very nice kids, right? Everybody were sort of willing to have you carrying on their arms and fondling you and talking to you. Very nice world that times, right? And you are going to school, you are very young, very, very beautiful, right? Remember those days? If you have any school girl day pictures of yours, right? How nice you were looking. Now what is happening, right? So Ratapala thought that my young age is also like that, not permanent, not lasting for long. And Buddha has explained that in the world, everything changes, impermanence, right? Someone will think that by looking at change in the world, if you have the slogan all the time, impermanence, impermanence, right, you are going to make your life miserable. Is that some people, look at us, the Buddhists say, oh, you people always lament about impermanence, always everything, right? You think everything is gloomy. Is that true? No. Philosophically, we understand things are impermanent, changing, right? But we do not look at only negative way, right? We have a positive way to look at it also. Because of change, we can improve things. Because of change, we can manipulate things. Permanence is not at all a very good thing, right? If some people believe that there is all-powerful God who could do things that they want. If for some luck, according to some people, right? If God is willing to make you permanent, immortal, permanent and everything, suddenly in this Buddhist Federation lecture hall, you become permanent. Anybody who is willing to undergo that experience? You like to be permanent like this? Right? Then what happened? You even don't know that you are permanent. Because mind is also permanent, it's not allowing you to think. Right? Only because our mind is impermanent, we can think. If you become permanent right now, mind is also getting frozen and you cannot think. And your bodies are frozen that you cannot move even. And no pain at all, yeah, that's one thing good. But not able to return home. And they will come and see, oh, stone statues are all here. Right? What sort of statues are these? Like, they will feel like coming to Madame Tussauds. You go there and life-like people are there, but no one talks, no one laughs, no one has a wink. Right? So, if you become permanent right now, that unfortunate thing will happen. You all will like in the Madame Tussauds. Right? So, that's very unfortunate. So, good that we are impermanent so we can get up and go home. Right? So, there is positive side. That's why Buddha saw understanding impermanence is very good, because then you can think of something better than this. Happiness is here, but more happiness can be achieved, right? Nibbana can be achieved because samsara is impermanent. Imagine that the samsara were permanent, you cannot do anything. So, Ratapala was understanding that life is flowing, life is changing, all that. Then he got the positive message. To improve our situation, to have Nibbanic bliss, can renounce the world, right? So, the first affirmation that he made to his parents also, and to this king who was asking questions from him, that everything, right, is moving, changing, right? And king actually asked, what does it really mean, right? Because king was not feeling it, right? King was not feeling it. So Venerable Rattapala, that time a very young monk, asked King, King, do you remember when you were able to fight, able to use your sword and do swordsmanship, fencing, right? And you remember the times that you could ride the horse, ride an elephant and all that? Yes, those days I was very agile, I could do anything I like, can fight, run, attack someone, ride horses and everything. Are you able to do all those things right now also? The king said, my dear Venerable, it's very difficult now for me to ride because I am 80 years old. The king was 80 years old, so it was very easy to convince him, right? He said, thinking that I'll put my foot here, I put my foot somewhere else. I cannot control my limbs now, although my thighs and the hands were very strong and, I could do anything I like. Now, they are not, controllable by me, right? So my walk is not very steady, right? Whatever I do is not very steady. Shaking hands and, uncontrollable movements and all that the king had to confess. So Venerable said, that is what I mean. Things are not as stable as we want, right? Things are changing, flowing. Life is like that. So upaniyati loko adhuo, right? The world is moving without having any steady movement, things like that. And secondly, he said, my second understanding that I gathered from Buddha's teaching, from Dhamma, is attano loko anabissaro. The world has no shelter, no protection. There is no one to protect us, right? Many people believe there is someone who created us and looking after our benefit and everything, right? Controlling us, right? So we are actually protected, we have safety, we have sort of shoulder to put our head and lament. No, right? Buddha says, no, you have only your feet. Shelter, your own shelter, that is also not very reliable, right? No, so no shelter, no protection. Every human being is like that, right? So that's actually not any personal lament, personal problem of this Rattapala, right? The king actually thought only when you feel sufferings of old age, loss of money and bankruptcy, and when you have no relations to help you, and when you are sick, you become a monk. But this Rattapala says it's not like that. But I have felt, right, in the world, everybody, right, the situation is like that. Everybody has no refuge, no protection, no shelter. We are helpless, right? The king was actually puzzled at that time because king is full of support, right? You know that even your Singapore ministers, right, always protected by, right, bodyguards and army and police and every type of protection they can arrange. The king was much more protected. He had fourfold army, right? Fourfold army to protect him, guards and everyone. So king was really wondering, how he asked actually the Venerable, how do you say that we have no protection, no shelter, right? I really don't understand. The Bhante explained to him, right? With all these guards and all these things, king, isn't there anything that you cannot do, right? When you are going to die, for instance, right? Can all these people prevent your death? Will they help you to live longer? No, right? The king really felt, yes, there are things that our so-called protection cannot offer us. There are so many problems we have that no one can help, no protection, no shelter, right? So with the practical examples, Venerable Rattapala explained to the king that we are actually helpless, right? So that is why in Buddhism, we do not have a creator God. Right? Buddhism does not believe that there is an overlord. Whenever we pray, please God, give me this. Right? Not given. Right? Only a sort of psychological solace you can have if you really believe that our Creator is always looking after us, all the things. If that were so, right? How many problems that we faced could have been evaded in life, right? Most of our goals are not realized, isn't it? Only very lucky person have sort of ability to claim that in my life I had a lot of dreams and all the dreams have come true. Right? But there are so many thousands of small expectations we could not realize. Some very big life goals we had to change. Right? When you were in the school as kids, your teachers might have asked you what you wanted to become when you are grown up. Someone might have said to become Prime Minister of Singapore. How many have become? At least to become a parliamentarian, to represent my people as the member of the area. I'm sorry, maybe that there are some parliamentary members here sitting, listening to the talk, Buddhist. Are there any members of the parliament? No, I'm happy. Because I'm not going to be challenged, right? Otherwise, I had my childhood dream of becoming a member of parliament and I am now. Someone may say, right? Anyway, such big dreams and somehow small dreams to become a teacher. Some who had the aim of becoming a teacher, right, has ended up being a civil servant. But it was not the childhood dream, something better of course, but something bad might have also come on some people's way. Right? So, we couldn't, right, realize most of our goals, right? Even though we kept on praying. Some people keep on praying, right? I remember my English professor, my professor in England, right? Religion professor he was. He had a small note under the glass of his writing table. My God plans everything for me. Right? Everything. Right? But he's dead and gone now. Right? He might have not liked to die so soon. Right? But the God did not arrange that. But some people have the ability to say, that's the way God wanted. Right? That's the way God wanted. I have lost my child, but the God took him back. God gave, God took him back. That's one way of, being happy, but that's not the reality. Right? No one wants the child to die early. Everybody wants their children to live longer. But some people's children die before they die. Right? That's very unfortunate, right? I remember reading in a book about one Japanese emperor, right, who went to a Buddhist monk and gave his autograph. Venerable, put some lucky thing, write some lucky lines in my book and put your signature. Venerable said, father dies, son dies, grandson dies, and signed. When the king emperor was very angry. Venerable, I asked you to write something that will bring me fortune, very happy thing, good thing. You are writing this very bad, gloomy message, very unfortunate thing. No king, no emperor. This is the luckiest thing that can happen to you. Right? If grandson dies before you, that's very unfortunate. Right? If your son dies before you, very unfortunate. But if you die first, son die next, grandson die last, very fortunate. So I wrote the most fortunate thing that can happen to you. So that shows us, that we never pray to God, take our children first, we follow. No, that happens and we try to console ourselves by a false logic. So, the king was convinced by the Venerable to realize the real nature of the world. No creator, no controller, world has no one. We are to look after our own things. Right? In a way, someone may say, oh, that is good. So I have a lot of freedom. But again, that's a different topic to talk about, whether we have whole freedom to manipulate all our things. No, that's also not possible. We are dependently arising according to Buddhism. Depending on the way the factors come together, our situation will change according to the factors. Right? Now, for instance, this particular session that you are in, was planned differently. To have a Buddhist monk sitting there and give you a nice talk. What happened? Owing to an unexpected factor, it's changed. No Buddhist monk now. Right? Only a layman, and he is refusing to sit there. So this is not the meeting you planned. This is a different one. Right? And we have, let's say, 75 people sitting here. 5 people opt to stand up and walk out. Thinking, what is this nonsense? I don't want to listen to this. They walk out. Then, this is not the same meeting. Right? Not the same number of people listening. Right? And perhaps I would have, perhaps, thinking that some people are walking out, get myself discouraged and may decide to stop early and say, okay, you talk now. Right? If that happens, right, so it's a dependently arising. New factors make changes. Right? Somehow there is some electricity problem where everything become dark and the microphone stop working and you feel very hot, no AC, everything. So, someone will suggest, shall we sort of adjourn now? We'll have it next week. So I have to come again also. So things are unpredictable, right? No one is really planning everything very well. Uncontrollability is definitely there, right? And thirdly, Venerable was explaining, King, listen, assako loko, sabbang pahaya gantabbang. In this world, right, although you claim that you are very rich, having so many things, we do not have the real possession of these things. These don't belong to us. We have to leave all these things, and the day we go empty-handed. You might have heard about the Alexander the Great's coffin. Have you heard? Alexander the Great, he died in India, right? Because his imperial goals were such that he was undergoing so many difficulties with the army, and they all contacted sort of disease, and he died unfortunately without being able to go to his own land. So his coffin was made with 2 holes either side to put his hand out. So his hands, everybody could see. Why? He is going empty-handed to show that. Right? He was the richest emperor of that time because he owned a very large geographical area, very powerful. So powerful that he even challenged a Buddhist monk when he came to India. He was walking upriver in the river Ganges, near the river. He was walking very happily, having won the great India. Right? I am the emperor of India now, and very happily walking. And there was a Buddhist monk sitting under a tree. And monk was meditating, and he asked his guide, who is that man sitting under the tree and, silent and all that? He's a Buddhist monk. What type of monk is he? Right? He has renounced all his wealth, riches, everything. Very happy here, having nothing. He possesses nothing except his robes and this small thing that he is eating food with. Right. But he looks very happy. Yes. Having nothing, he is happy. Alexander said, must be a great fellow. I must go and worship him. Right? He went and worshipped the monk, and monk opened his eyes and Who are you worshipping me? I am Alexander the Great. I have won India. I have won many lands all over the area, and I came here, and now I am your emperor. I am worshipping. Oh, in that case, I must worship you. Right? Bhante got up and worshipped the king, emperor. Oh my God, I thought you were spiritually very high person, great person. You are worshipping me. Yes, you are great. You are great. Because you have so much, right? And you still want some more. Right? Still you need some more. You cannot give anything away. Right? I have nothing. Right? So, you are great, you are still greedy, still looking for something, and you are still willing to suffer. That's great courage, right? I had only very little. I gave up all these things for a greater thing that you are striving for. You selected less valuable things to suffer all your life, right? I am suffering for the greatest valuable thing in the world, that is Nibbana. Right? So, if giving up is giving away or letting go is the greatest thinking, you are the greatest because for very temporary things you have given away, you have forsaken the most valuable thing, liberation. So you are great, right? You will still struggle to have land, money, gems and gold and all these. All these are valueless for me, very temporary things. And you have given up your interest for the most valuable thing in the world. So, in your measure, I am not great. Right? I am still striving to achieve something very valuable. Right? You have forgotten that completely. You are striving for valueless, temporary, useless things. Right? So, King had a different message from the things that he was so far thinking of. Right? He was so proud, but unfortunately, he had to go empty hand, and that is why the coffin had 2 holes to put his hands out. So, Venerable Rattapala is correct. He said, Assako. Nothing belongs to us. Very temporary for our use. Right? We can use definitely as things in the world. Right? All things that you are using, your residence, your children, your family, and everything you think, all this is mine. But nothing is yours, because when you go, nothing you can take. Sabbang pahaya gantabbang. The king said, I really don't understand, Venerable. Because king never thought that he would give up anything. Like Alexander the Great, he was thinking, all this is mine. I am the owner. The Bhante asked the king, think of all pleasurable things that you have. The beautiful queens that you talk to, you listen to, you enjoy with, and the jewels and gold and everything in your palace, all these things, right? Imagine the day that you are dying, what you would take. The queen, the other beautiful girls, of course the kings in India had harems. You know what harems are? Whoever beautiful girl they see, they can get into the harem. Right? Unfortunate girls suffer. So, you think you can take anything? No, Venerable, no. In that case, you must realize, all these things do not belong to you. If they were your belongings, right, when you go, you should be able to take them with you. You are not taking them, therefore they don't belong to you. Not yours. Right? And they do not amenable to your orders also. Right? Even your body. Right? Not behaving like the way we want. Right? Our hands are made to bend like this only. We can't bend it to the other side, other way. Right? If you try to break from the joint. Right? So we have limitations and nothing is ours. right? So king said, oh yeah, I realize that now, right? All these things are temporary for me to use. Nothing I can say my belongings. Venerable explained, that's why I have a bunk. I renounce the world. Right. That's the third one. The fourth one again is very important one. Uno loco atitto tanha dasu. A long statement, but uno loco. Everyone is always feeling not enough, not satiated in relation to enjoyable things, sensual pleasures. There is no saturation point, right? Uno loco. Atitto, right? Never say enough, right? There are times that when you start your eating, when you are eating your lunch today, right? When it's enough, you will say, enough now, enough. But that's only for the time being, right? Later, 2-3 hours after, you will come and ask, anything left? I'm feeling hungry again. So, enough is a very temporary word, but for permanently you will not say enough, right? Even when you have a lot of money, huge amount of money, right? You still want to continue earning. No millionaire has said, now I am millionaire enough, my business now can be closed. I can enjoy the rest of my life with that. No, people keep on earning, becoming developed. Right? As Singaporeans, do you think Singapore is rich enough now and stop developing anymore? The buildings are enough now? No more buildings? You think so? Right? You can just for the sake of argument say, oh yeah, Singapore is now developed enough. But ask your Prime Minister or Cabinet Ministers, do you think Singapore is developed enough? If they publicly proclaim that, next election they will lose. Because as people, you want more development. You may go to some other country and come back and say, we have that one there, we don't have it here. So that sort of people might have told that we went to Las Vegas, it's not here, so let's have Las Vegas, and you are having it now. Right? And the studio, what is that studio you have recently started? The filmmaking, Universal Studio. You have been, someone might have from Singapore gone there and felt happy and informed your government. You must have Universal Studios also here, and you have it, right? So there are so many other things, right? Someone may visit United States of America and talking to President Trump and coming to know his nuclear power and come and start talking in Singapore. We must rival, right? We must also build power like that. Then we can challenge. All world powers can be big bully, all those. Size is small, the red dot, we can, impress entire world by our power. Like the recent country that is challenging Trump, right? Oh, North Korea. Right? They are not very big, not very impressive, but with the power that you have, created weapon-wise, they have very lethal, very fatal weapons they claim, right? And threatening entire world. That's so, isn't that so? Right? So there is no saturation point even for making new bombs, right? Weapons, right? The powerful countries don't come to saturation point. They want to produce more. And money, riches, right? In India there is a saying that Ajaramarvat prajño vidyang arthancha chintayet. They say, forget death when it comes to earning money and gathering knowledge. The second one is okay, isn't it? Becoming knowledgeable, right? Forget that you are dying. Learn more and more and more, not very much harm. But when you come to forgetting death and start earning, and it will come to the point that we feel that entire world is a half of lemon, we can squeeze and get the last drop. If we think that way, how many people are going to suffer because of our craving? Right? Limitless craving makes others suffer. Right? If we want to earn limitlessly, right? We are depriving other people of their share. Right? That's why long time ago many people were agitating against capitalism. Right? Now they know that by that way also you can't do anything. Right? So, the Buddhist philosophy, right, tells you, uno loco, the world is always with shortcomings, with craving for more and more things. And when we die, it is said, unava huttvana jahanti dehang. When we die, we leave our bodies here still being unsatisfied. 100% satisfied man saying, now all my dreams have come true, everything fine, beautifully enjoyed the entire life, I am ready to die, now ready. No one has said that, right? No one has said that, no one can say that except you have completely eradicated all your defilements. The day you eradicate your defilements, you may say, come what may. Venerable Sariputta, when he was old, someone asked Venerable, what is your thinking now? He said, Nabi nandami jivitang, nabi kankami maranang. I am not going to sort of enjoy life like someone who is very crazy to live, and I am not anxious about death either. Kalanga, abhikankami, whatever come, let it come. It doesn't really matter. Not any anxiety, not any greed, unsatisfied, nothing. That type of people are very rare, right? All others in the world are ready to keep accumulating more and more and more, right? So, una bhutvana jahanti dehang. So, having this type of philosophical understanding of the world, the Venerable said to the king, I have become a monk. Right? King said, now I do understand. I appreciate your gesture. I appreciate your talk. I appreciate what you have done. Right? So that's how our sutta explains the philosophy in that. Right? I was told I could finish 45 minutes. Right? Yeah. And I was also told if I want to finish little earlier, giving extended question time Q&A, so I'm giving you 3 more minutes, a bonus from me, right? Otherwise you may say, we were waiting for a longer session of Q&A, but we got very short. So now you can't blame me. I'm giving you 3 additional minutes to ask questions, because I know, with my experience for the last 10 years in Singapore, after a talk, people ask very sensible questions. The very good questioners. So I'm expecting you to generate some good questions, and I have some experienced Dhamma people here. From the faces, I can say that you have, some Dhamma in you. You can join the discussion when a question could not be answered by me, right? What else I could do? I depend on you. Okay, so let's have a discussion rather than simple Q&A. I am not going to sort of give answer to your satisfaction for all the questions, right? Maybe that some others can give better answers. That is also allowed, right? Another bonus. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. So, do we have any questions for the very enlightening talk that we just had? Any questions about goals?
Yeah, this is also natural. First question comes very late. Then at the end, people say, oh, not enough time for Q&A. But first, to start with, you wasted some minutes. Don't do that. Start asking. Yeah, one question is coming, all right?
Hey, thank you. My name is Helen. Thanks, Professor, for your inspiring talk. Just want to find out, when you say enough, what is, in your opinion, is enough?
Oh, when is enough?
Yes,
That's a
when is
very,
enough?
very difficult question, right? Some people say enough is enough. Yes, I have heard some people say that enough is enough. When you are tired of something, you say that. There is a book called When is Enough. In our library, we have it written by a Buddhist writer in England, right? So, when is enough? Very difficult question, because it all have to be worked out by individuals to think when is enough, right? It's different from a childless family and 8 children family, right? The father of a 8 children family has to think of earning and leaving something for 8 children. But a father who has only 1 child need not earn that much, right? So everything, secular things, depend on the necessity. But again, that necessity also depends on the situation. So it's all dependent thing. So you have to work out, right, what are your basics. Many psychologists now help people to think of their basics, right? What I need most, how should I plan? A planning is absolutely necessary thing in our life, right? So calculate, right, what sort of things that you have in your dreams for your family, right? And don't be too greedy, because Buddha has said that, right? Many people who make too high aims have to die without satisfying anything, right? It's so achievable goals. That's what even positive thinking psychologists tell us. They say, first they say, nothing is impossible, everything is possible. Secondly, they say, know your limits and calculate that way, and reachable goals you set, not unreachable goals. So, depending on the situation, depending on your abilities, right, make your goals like that, because sometimes it will be very difficult if you have too high goals, right? Now, for instance, now today in Singapore you have no king, right? If you set your goal to be a king of Singapore, that's not going to be possible, right? But depending on the assets you have, depending on your abilities, your education and all that, you can think of, becoming a civil servant, right? Pass your examinations and join civil service and have targets that you can achieve, like that, right? So it depends from the country, from the time, from your own ability and all these things, but where there may be workable, achievable areas. Now Nibbana, for instance, our own ambition, right? You have to think whether it is possible, according to your life situation, to achieve that in this very life. You know how much defilements you have in your mind. I can't tell you. Your defilements only you know. Amount of defilements you have, amount of mundane responsibilities you have, amount of time you can devote for your meditation, right? Having all this, right, you can settle to a certain goal, right? Venerables may tell you that if you are a layman, within your layman limits, right, you meditate half an hour a day, or reduce it to quarter an hour if it is difficult, right? And you can target, right, to achieve first jhana if at all, right? Second jhana, third jhana, right? Or sotapanna, right? If you are very responsible for the family that you have already made, right? You may, most of you might have sort of married and have children and many responsibilities. You can't just immediately sever all these relationships. I'm going to Nibbana tomorrow. So my wife, look after your things you well, and look after my family, kids, right? Prince Siddhartha did that, why can't I do that, right? But, don't jump into such conclusions. If you are defilements, you have to gauge how much tanha I have, how much anger I have. First I have to control my tanha, first I have to control my desire, first I have to control my anger, right? Be a peaceful person first, control myself, and then like that, you have to make a very careful study of these things, okay? Another question? Sure, madam.
I don't know whether the answer to the question about when is enough, whether one can say it's
sure,
the point
you go
where
ahead. Please,
it's a point where you start having negative marginal returns, and these negative marginal returns can be in the form of either dissatisfaction, or it can be anything, but the point where you do not get any more satisfaction, be it whether you're having a meal, or whether you're striving for a goal, or whether you're, So, yeah.
Any comments on that comment? It's very difficult, according to her, to come to that particular point to decide. Right? This is going to be my margin, right? So, what to do? Any comment from the house? All right.
Okay, maybe I just share the thought. The sisters who mentioned about that breaking point, whereby you feel that you already have enough, and that's probably the point whereby you say, okay, that's it, okay, and I will stop from there. But then again, in my thoughts, I was thinking, what about if, for example, the mission or the objective that you wish to achieve is something that is going to be so meaningful to you as well as to benefit other people, and that you find that perhaps, even though it is very tough, that I should give it one more try, that I should garner support from people, rally support from people, and I will see what I can get, and I will move along the way to see if I can still, make that something that has happened, because it is something that is good for the community, for the people. So I find that the question is whether we have that resilience in us, as to we can have that determination to want to link up and to want to expand the dreams and the ambition, to impact and influence other people, to be on board, to join you together to achieve that dream that you wish for. So I think, yes, there is a breaking point, but that is a reason why we have friends and we have kalyanamitas around us, so that we can always encourage one another, motivate one another, and to show that care and concern and that journey towards being a better person, towards having the resilience to do more, to help other people. That journey actually becomes the living the Dhamma, I feel. And it is going to be something very sweet and pleasant, because it will all help us to achieve and be better as a person and be better in our cultivation. Just sharing my thoughts.
That's very good, very enlightening answer, because in the world there are times that some people, come to a saturation point, right, for various depending reasons. And even then, that sometimes a superficial one, sometimes a good one. Now, for instance, I have my personal experience of my landlord. Some 25 years ago, I was living in a rented house, and my landlord was a kind of practitioner, and he one day came to my house and said, now, Professor, I have earned enough. I'm very happy with what I have, right? I don't need any more money. I have a shop and all this, my son now also now running it. So I'm a very happy person. I think I have earned enough. I don't want any single cent more. Right? I had a doubt about his sincerity. Right? So I said, oh, very happy to hear that. From next month onwards, I don't have to pay my rent. I was just testing his sincerity, because I was always ready to pay my rent, right? He became very red. Right? He must have, shown me his happiness, because now I am helping him to reduce his craving, right? Not to have any unnecessary money anymore. But he was very sad. Said, ho, don't do that. I will have to go to rent board. That's a thing, rent board, that when people don't pay their rent, judicial procedure will be taken by that rent board. They will prosecute you and plan eviction. Right? I will have to go there, and you continue to pay your rent, right? Then I realized, this man is just boasting, saying that he have enough and no more craving, no more desire, no more greed. All that is just, I don't know whom he wanted to cheat, himself or me. But this is a ridiculous thought, actually, thinking that I have enough when I am not enough, or to make. But this Microsoft boss, what's his name? Yes. He once felt, right, I have now enough money, right? But I cannot stop earning because my company must run and all these services should continue. But as I have a lot of money now, I can channel some of this. Some millions I can channel for social work, right, to reduce my own greed. Having that idea, he asked some of his friends, another group of millionaires, right? Do you also feel sometimes, that we have enough and we can channel some to some other important purpose? They will say, yeah, we also feel sometimes like that. So they formed a group, right? And now they are channeling some of their earnings, thinking that we need not, accumulate this much. So channeling their money for good social work. That type of understanding may come to people, right? I read in 1940s, in the world, the most richest was a person called Rockefeller, right? You might have heard Rockefeller Foundation, right? Once he was psychologically sick. He was not eating well, looking at, various directions and just lost in thoughts. Wife could not, take his attention when he wanted to take attention, right? You know how husbands take attention of wives, or wives take husband's attention, right? At least you can say, do you hear me? Right? She did that also, nothing. He was, very worried, highly worried person, right? So wife thought he is sick. Maybe some physical problem not telling us. Some people have certain illnesses that they don't want to talk about. So she took him to the family doctors. Family doctor said, no, nothing I can detect. Very fit, no problem, nothing to worry. Then she took him to specialists also, because sometimes GP cannot detect, but there are still some hidden problems. Specialists also, he is very healthy, nothing to worry physically. So then he was taken to psychologists, the next step. And most of the psychologists today do not spend much time talking about people's roots of the psychological problems. They also look like other doctors, the symptoms. So some symptomatic treatments were given, tablets, tranquilizers and all that. They are very temporary, right? As long as you take the tablet, some hours you are happy. Okay, that's artificial. But then again, you start worrying. So the old-fashioned psychotherapists belonging to Sigmund Freud school, they are very expensive because they don't give pills. They take hours and hours to talk to people, and you have to talk for many years sometimes. So difficult to get into people's, unconscious mind. He was given to such a person, and he knew this person can afford systematic treatment for months. So he said, I have to come and take a room in your house, right? Then I could talk freely, free association for many hours, many weeks, and I can do that. So he was given that opportunity. So he was every day studying this man, right? Rockefeller. Eventually, in 2-3 months' time, he found the illness. It is, a very common problem for some Singaporeans also. For me also it can happen. For anybody it can happen. Now the Singapore has a solution for that. When you travel in buses, you only have the card to tap. So you don't have this problem in the buses. But when you go to certain shops, especially in a corner shop, this can happen. You buy certain things. Now the pricing has become so magic that $3.90, not $4. $3.90, right? $5.90, not $6. Like that, you have 10 cents, right? Short with the cashier. So instead of $3.90, he takes your all $4, right? In Sri Lanka, they give you a toffee. For 10 cents, you can have a toffee. But here, you don't get even the toffee, right? If you don't have 90, so forget it, right? We also say, okay, forget it. Rockefeller used to say, forget it, when it happened during his childhood until he was a rich fellow in the buses, in the shops and all these places. Is it something to worry? Have you ever worried about the 10 cents that you are losing? No. You never worry. Yeah, the lady, why don't you worry? She says, not worried. Yeah, I was also not worried because we are wage earners. We get a salary. When we get a salary, our 10 cents is just 10 cents. Spend or not, 10 cents is 10 cents, right? But here may be some people who are in business. They know today 10 cents is tomorrow 50 cents. Day after tomorrow $1. Because their money is not stagnating in the pocket. Business people's money, right, always regenerate. So he was Rockefeller, now a businessman, thought, if I did not allow these fellows to keep my 10 cents, right, these coins might have become dollars and dollars and dollars, and in my business they might have become millions. So what sort of millions, billions have I lost because of my ignorance, my inability to take that 10 cents balance? Right? So wonderful calculation, isn't it? 10 cents today become 50 cents tomorrow. So don't allow anybody to keep your 10 cents. If you are a businessman, it's your loss. For 10 years, it could even be million depending on your rate of making profit. So he was thinking of that. That is why he was thinking, I am a great loser. Great loser. This is the richest man at that time in the world. Imagine. The problem is that psychologists have found out the problem. How to cure him? Any suggestion? Any suggestion to cure such a person? No one. No one studied Buddhism. Solution is in Buddhism. This psychologist was a person, Sigmund Freud's generation, but he had studied Buddhism. So he gave a stanza from the Buddha. That was the solution. Stanza runs as Atitang nanusocanti nappajappanti nagatang Pachupannena yapenti tena vanno pasidati. This is a stanza taught by the Buddha when someone asks him how the Buddhist monks are so good looking. Someone said, monks have no single cent in the pocket, right? No land, no house on his own, no wife, no children, absolutely nothing, very poor, right? But when I look at them, they are very happy, healthy looking, beautiful face, all that. Venerable, tell me, what is the secret? The Buddha said, the secret is, Atitang nanusocanti, they don't lament over past things. They allow bygones to be bygones. They don't cry about spilled milk. Right? And nappajapanti nagatang, they do not complain about the future. Uncertainty to future, they have no complaints. Pachuppannena yapindi, face the present as present. Solve the problems, today problems, immediately the way they have come. Right? They are ready to live in the present. Live in the present, forget the past, don't worry about the future. That's the secret. That's the secret of healthy, happy looking of monks. When Buddha explained that, that was put into a small stanza in capsule form. Now it is preserved in Buddhist literature. This Freudian psychologist took that, gave it as the message, medicine to Rockefeller, and he was wonderfully healed. He became a completely changed person, not worried about the lost 10 cent things, and he even was very happy what he had and arranged a trust called Rockefeller Trust, which even functioning today, giving scholarship to people who could not afford high education and doing a lot of social service in the world. What a change this small stanza brought. So that is how we calculate the limit and the function and everything, right, related to this intelligent thinking, right? So breaking point, we all have to decide on our own, but based on Dhamma. Dhamma should be our basis. Okay? One more question. Here, 12 o'clock we stop, isn't it? Now 12 past 5. So one last question.
Hello, Professor. Thanks for the talk. Well, the question is that in today's society, especially in Singapore, everything is so expensive.
So
right?
stressful.
It's so expensive. I mean, even a lot of the people in Singapore, the goal is on the basic necessity of getting a roof over their head, right? HDB, condominiums, not a lot of people have the goal of owning a GCB, good class bungalow, and that's out the window, right? So the question is that, where do we stop? You know, are we going to be like how you were 25 years ago, still renting? Is that a message to us and to the future generations, right? Or should everyone just have a goal of, hey, just get a simple roof for the family, right? So I guess the thing here is, what is contentment, and where is the borderline between contentment and complacency? Thank you.
To be very careful in talking things like that. As a foreigner on employment pass, right? I'm not supposed to get into tricky political questions related to Singapore life. But knowing the limit, I can, talk about Dhamma, right? The Buddha Dhamma, right? Tells you, think in the frame of dependent origination, right? Depending on the difficulty, depending on the limitations, depending on the problems, right? In that frame, you have to analyze how much satisfaction I can get, right? So it's a matter for every individual to look at his own political framework, his own economic and family situation, right? So it's a tricky question. I cannot make a concrete answer, right? In abstract terms, right? Analyze the situation and come to a sort of target that we can reach, right? That is still, even now you can think of Singapore and India comparatively. Now Singapore, right, has achieved a very high economic, social, political situation from what it was 75 years ago, right? I have read, I haven't seen 75 years ago Singapore, but I've read about 75 years ago Singapore when it was a marshy land and how it became little by little, right, to this particular stage. And sometimes it was too fast also, but still you have matched even the condition or standard of life in America and Canada, right? In the present world, the highest standard of living, someone may say, America, Canada, Japan, right? Those are the sort of very highly developed and high standard life. Singapore has reached that with lot of sacrifice, of course. But it's worth, many people say it's worth, we have achieved a lot. So in this light, compare it with India, right? About 20 years ago, I went to Bangladesh and I was asked to give a talk in a school. Half an hour in advance, I went to the place and roadside, man said, here is the school. I couldn't see any building, right? I went little in advance. There were some 2-3 kids were also there, and one by one kids were coming. No building, nothing. Then the principal came, having a board in his, he was carrying the school board like this. And he put the board under the tree. And now the school is there. Right? Except the signboard, there was nothing. And children were bringing mats. And the mats were spread. Right? And the principal also sat on a mat. And some other teachers had two classes only. Right? And school began. Right? Period by period, subjects were taught, and then principal took the board back, other kids were taking the mats, went, again, just the tree. In the world, such situations exist, right? And when I was walking in the Atisha Deepankara Sarak, the road, you have lorong, they have saraks, there was a thing on my head, like an umbrella, right? What was it? Mosquitoes. A lot of mosquitoes just shading the sun for me. Right? Then I said, Ayo, I can rename your road. They were laughing at me and they said, no, this is the situation that we are still. Now, 2 days ago, Bangladesh was on the television. My God, wonderful, very much change. Beautiful change, right? Now it's a very fast developing country. So, when you compare it with still India, when you go on a pilgrimage to certain areas, especially the Buddhist pilgrim areas, you can see houses are just some polythene sheets. Under the polythene sheet, family sleeps, right? When you compare to that, right, you have to be very happy, right? When to reduce the stress, you must think of such places, how people live. Nothing to eat, right? They run after you when you go on a pilgrimage to get even a biscuit. Suffering. Somalia, think of that, right? So, comparative merit that you have, right? Think of them and meditate a little, all stress will go. So, thank you very much. If I hurt your feelings by that ridiculous answer, sorry about that, right? But, that's my limit. Okay? So, thank you very much for being very good audience and asking me questions and everything. I wish you all to have spiritual maturity every day you mature and one day attain Nibbana, reducing all your defilements, eradicating all your problems. Wish you all happiness.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Professor.